Okay, so let's dive right into one of the most majestic and, let's be honest, kind of intimidating books in the entire Old Testament, the book of Isaiah. It is a massive 66-chapter epic that weaves together these incredible themes of judgment, grace, and ultimately hope.
You know, there's a reason people have called it the Prince of the Prophets. And it's not just a fancy title. Its writing is just spectacular, and the theological depth is absolutely unmatched. It really is a cornerstone of biblical prophecy, almost like a miniature version of the entire biblical story.
And that's the big question, right? It feels overwhelming. But what if I told you that the key to understanding this entire 66-chapter symphony is actually found in its opening movement? Yeah, we're going to start with chapter 1 because it works as a perfect overture for the whole shebang.
So Isaiah kicks things off not with some gentle story, but with a full-blown divine lawsuit. I mean, the prophet literally frames chapter 1 as a courtroom drama. You've got God as the prosecutor, and all of creation, heaven and earth, they're called in as the witnesses.
So what's the main charge here? Well, it's not just that the people made a few mistakes. God's case is way deeper. It's about parental nurture being met with deliberate, willful rebellion. It's the betrayal of a child who absolutely knows better, and that's what makes the offense so painful. To really drive the point home, Isaiah uses this powerful, almost insulting comparison. He basically says, look, even a simple farm animal knows who feeds it, who takes care of it. But God's own people? They've become so disconnected they don't even recognize the one who created and sustains them. Ouch. And this rebellion isn't some abstract idea. It has devastating, real-world consequences. Isaiah uses this incredibly graphic, physical imagery to describe the state of the nation. It's not just a spiritual problem, it's a body that's been beaten from head to toe. A landscape so empty it looks like a lonely shack after the harvest, teetering on the brink of total annihilation.
Now, you might think the solution would be, well, more religious activity, right? More prayers, more sacrifices. But God rejects it, all of it. He says he despises their festivals and their offerings. And why? Because for God, true worship isn't about just going through the motions. It's about how you live your life. They were performing all the right ceremonies while completely ignoring justice for the poor and the oppressed. God has a name for this: iniquity and solemn assembly. It's a hypocrisy he just can't stand.
But here's where the story takes a turn. It doesn't just end with judgment. The whole point of this divine lawsuit isn't just to condemn, it's to call for a resolution. After laying out the entire case, God immediately presents a path to redemption.
And this is so crucial. The path back to God isn't about more religious rituals. It's a complete ethical overhaul. The process is really clear. It starts with a personal choice: stop doing evil. But it doesn't end there. It moves outward to actively learn to do good, seek justice, and correct oppression. And it all culminates in defending the most vulnerable people in society, the orphan and the widow.
And this leads us to one of the most profound promises in the entire Bible. After demanding this radical change in behavior, God makes this astonishing offer. He invites his rebellious people to come and talk it out with him, promising that no matter how deep the stain of their sin, as permanent as scarlet dye, he can wash it completely clean, making it as pure and white as snow.
Okay, so that's the whole drama of chapter 1 in a nutshell. You've got rebellion, judgment, and then this incredible offer of grace through justice. Now let's zoom out and see how this very same pattern builds across the entire book, because it plays out on the grand stage of world history. You see, Isaiah's prophecies weren't just delivered in a vacuum. He was speaking into a really turbulent time in history. His words first had to address the immediate crisis of the brutal Assyrian Empire. Then, he looks centuries into the future to comfort exiles under the Babylonian Empire. And finally, he offers hope to those returning home under the Persian Empire. It's an incredible historical sweep.
And this isn't just myth or legend. History and archaeology actually back this up. For instance, the Assyrian king, a guy named Sennacherib, he boasted on an ancient artifact we found, the Taylor Prism, that he conquered 46 Judean cities. But you know what he conveniently leaves out? His failure to take Jerusalem. And that's a deliverance Isaiah attributes directly to God's intervention.
This table is a fantastic roadmap for the book's structure. Just notice how it all revolves around one central question. How can a rebellious people possibly serve a holy God? The book starts with the problem of rebellion, then it moves to the test of God's trustworthiness during that Assyrian crisis, and then it reveals the motivation for serving God is grace, a message delivered specifically to the exiles in Babylon. It all fits together.
But how is that ultimate grace even possible? How can sins that are like scarlet truly become white as snow?
Well, the book builds and builds towards its ultimate answer, and it's found in the mysterious figure of the suffering servant.
In the famous 53rd chapter, Isaiah describes a servant who takes the punishment for the people's rebellion upon himself. He is pierced for their transgressions, crushed for their iniquities. This incredible prophecy provides the ultimate mechanism for God's offer of forgiveness, its atonement through a substitute. So here we have this ancient text spanning empires, filled with judgment, unbelievable prophecy, and this incredible portrait of a suffering servant. But why? Why does it still resonate so powerfully thousands of years later?
I think it's because its core themes are absolutely timeless. The powerful call for social justice is just as relevant today as it was back then. The message of unshakable hope in the face of impossible odds, that continues to inspire people. And its vision of a God who is both transcendent and holy, yet also deeply involved in redeeming his people, well, that has profoundly shaped the world we live in.
And that brings us right back to where we started, in that divine courtroom of chapter 1. See, Isaiah doesn't just leave us with a theological idea. It leaves us with a challenge. It forces us to ask, if the path to redemption God laid out involves seeking justice and defending the vulnerable, then how might our own pursuit of justice for the marginalized be the very thing that shows we've accepted God's offer of grace? That's a question worth pondering.